The IndusInd Bank Board is set to address significant accounting discrepancies that have recently come to light, says IndusInd Chairman Ashok Hinduja to NDTV Profit after NDTV Profit asked some crucial questions on the sidelines of a press conference. Let's listen into that.
Unless the report from PwC comes to the board, I will not be able to answer that. I can answer in general. The credibility for any banking or financial institution is the prime most. So once the report comes, it will go to the board will review, they have their various committees, and then they will take a call, who's the person who's responsible in last so many years. Is it 1%, 2%, or it was a error? We don't know.
Let that aside, but the CEO leaving is still there, right? I mean, the RBI has not given him the extension twice that he asked for. The CFO was left before the results. Now, that you don't need the PwC report to answer those questions.
But I can't. As a promoter, I can't say why he left, why a regulator has given him 1 year. You'll appreciate I have no prerogative to talk on that subject. But it is, regulator is there, whatever they thought is right, they have done. Whatever management thought why CFO has gone, they know better. Board will take a call. So all that, I think you should wait and watch.
My colleague Vishwanath Nair, who initially broke the story, now joining in from the sidelines of this press conference. Vishwanath, this was actually a press conference that was held on IndusInd International Holdings and their acquisition of Reliance Capital. But NDTV Profit, the only channel, and has been the only channel asking some crucial, tough questions, not just of the promoters, but now even of Chairman Ashok Hinduja, who actually answered and said that the board will actually take, some action against the accounting discrepancies. But what is the sense that you're actually picking up?
Right, Sanjana, so just for clarity, Ashok Hinduja is the chairman of IndusInd International Holdings, so he is the promoter of the bank. But having said that, the point that he was trying to make earlier in the during the press conference was that the credibility is the crucial thing when you're in the financial services business, and that share prices may move here and there, and that's a temporary thing, but the credibility of the management of the board, of the balance sheet of the bank, has to be maintained. And that's why NDTV Profit asked this question, because the credibility of the bank is at stake at this point in time. Remember that the CFO of IndusInd Bank, which is promoted by Ashok Hinduja and his family through IndusInd International Holdings, the CFO left in January, just days before the bank was set to announce its Q3 results. Then announcement comes in that the regulator has only given a 1-year extension to the CEO, even though the board asked for a 3-year extension. Then a couple of days after that, news comes in about a large accounting discrepancy, which is going to result in a hit of about 1,500 to 2,000 odd crore to the bank's balance sheet during the Q4 results. And in that disclosure, while addressing that disclosure with the analyst, the bank's CEO says that the regulator doesn't probably like me, and they probably want a new CEO at the bank. So yes, there is a credibility question, and that was something that needed to be asked to the promoters of the bank. And what the promoters are, of course, saying is that let's wait for this PwC report to come in. Remember, PwC was appointed as an external auditor to look at the accounting discrepancies that were reported by the bank. And that report is expected sometime in the next few days, is what sources are saying at this point in time. And what Mr. Hinduja is saying is that once the board has had a chance to look at the PwC report, they'll be able to take a better call on what needs to be done, whether there were certain people who were involved in these discrepancies, or whether this was just an accounting error that could have happened with any other bank. The question that NDTV Profit is asking is that the CEO, the head of Treasury, who's also the deputy CEO, and also the interim CFO of the bank, should be held responsible for this entire action, especially because both of them have sold a considerable amount of their stake last year, before the issues at IndusInd Bank began, specifically with regard to their microfinance portfolio, and the stock price started falling. So these are three key questions that we have been asking the promoter. The promoter is obviously saying that whether a new CEO needs to be appointed or not is the board's prerogative, and that is correct. Having said that, the promoter does not have any representation on the board and has no voice on the board. And we asked that question, why is that happening? And the promoter's answer to that is that as a family, they believe on staying away from any institution that they are promoting, and that all decisions need to be taken by the professional management that is being appointed and a board that is actually running that institution. And they, as promoters, do not want to participate in any active decision making at the bank. Key questions still remaining. I mean, he's not really answered a lot in detail, but at least he points out that the board will take whatever decision needs to be taken as soon as the PwC report comes in.
Absolutely, Vishwanath. And if I can just request that we play out the interaction that took place between you and Ashok Hinduja actually during the press conference, where you even asked the question. Of course, at the time, he restricted the press conference to what was happening with Reliance Capital. But I'd just like to play out that interaction for our viewers once.
If you're going to create these multiple financial services business under the IndusInd International Holdings umbrella, is there going to be a non-operating holding finance structure that you will go for? Will that then become the governance structure for this entire business that you're holding at this point?
No, right legal team is there to work out how the plan will function. Being a Mauritius entity, acquiring an Indian entity, they will depend on the Indian board. Their members will be on the board. So only after that the whole plan will come into force. As far as IndusInd Bank is concerned, I'll appreciate, let us, otherwise, the whole story gets confused. We restrict this to Reliance Capital.
My colleague Vishwanath back with us. Vishwanath, if you could actually give us a sense of the kind of action really that is being looked into, because we heard that the RBI was taking note of this. We heard that the SEBI was taking note of this. We also understood, sources told NDTV Profit, that the Finance Ministry was also looking very carefully into this. So just for our viewers, if you could provide that context as to what exactly and where does the probe around this really stand?
Right, Sanjay, so let me start from the beginning, which is the 10th of March, which is when the bank came out with the disclosures to the exchanges, where it said that they had found certain discrepancies in their derivatives portfolio, which would lead to an impact of, which is the equivalent of about 2.35% of the net worth of the bank. That adds up to somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 odd crore, and that impact would be taken fully during the Q4 results. Now, obviously, analysts at that point in time were very curious to find out how exactly this could happen in a bank like IndusInd Bank, because numbers are constantly being reported, plus the derivatives portfolio, which is part of the trading desk, is of course continuously audited by multiple auditors. How the bank could have missed a large number like a 1,500, 2,000 crore number in their results, and that's an important question to have asked. Having said that, the bank's management was not able to clearly give those answers to the queries by the analysts. IndusInd Bank, of course, later refused to clarify anything further than what they had already told the analysts. NDTV Profit has been asking this question repeatedly. A, how could there be such a big discrepancy on the book, which is constantly being audited? B, if there is going to be this discrepancy, doesn't mean that the past results will have to be restated, because obviously you've been booking this profit for well over a year. So then will past results need to be readjusted to account for this loss that is being reported now? C, we wanted to understand how the regulators are looking at it, and we got an answer. The RBI supervisory officers have sought clarity from all the banks, not just IndusInd Bank, but across the system, to try and see if any other bank has similar sort of derivatives issues. We understand that SEBI is also looking at the disclosure policy of the bank and the accounting standards of the bank. SEBI is also looking at the fact that the management, as I mentioned earlier, the CEO and the deputy CEO both sold about 80% of their holdings in the bank when the share price was close to its peak last year, and since then the share price has been consistently falling. The Finance Ministry as well is keen to understand what accounting gaps happened at IndusInd Bank, whether this was an intentional sort of loss or whether this was a mistake, an accounting error that happened at IndusInd Bank. These questions hopefully will be answered when the PwC report comes in, explaining the entire history and geography of the story. But as things stand now, there are a lot of very difficult questions which the management and the board, as well as the promoters, so far have refused to answer. But of course, we'll keep asking that question.
Absolutely, Vishwanath. Please, thank you so much for those updates, and thanks for being the only reporter in that room asking crucial questions of Ashok Hinduja. Just for our viewers, one last time, I'd like to play out that reaction after NDTV Profit asked him very crucially about the accounting discrepancies and why the board was still silent on the issue. Let's listen in.
Unless the report from PwC comes to the board, I will not be able to answer that. I can answer in general. The credibility for any banking or financial institution is the prime most. So once the report comes, it will go to the board. The board will review. They have their various committees. And then they will take a call. Who's the person who's responsible in last so many years? Is it 1%, 2%, or it was an error? We don't know.
Let that aside, but the CEO leaving is still there, right? I mean, the RBI has not given him the extension twice that he asked for. The CFO was left before the results. Now, that you don't need the PwC report to answer those questions.
But I can't. As a promoter, I can't say no. Why he left, why a regulator has given him 1 year. You'll appreciate I have no prerogative to talk on that subject. But it is, regulator is there, whatever they thought is right, they have done. Whatever management thought why CFO has gone, they know better. Board will take a call. So all that, I think you should wait and watch.